new ideas are being presented, and the old part of you is going to rise up in revolt. No, I won't go there. What's wrong with here? Why do we have to grow? Why do we have to do this? We have to do it because your heart and your soul are asking for it, because the human being is meant to excel. We're not meant to stagnate. We don't do well with that. We have to learn, we have to grow.
Thank you so much, Tommy, and thanks everybody for being here. And I'm Mariana. I'm in recovery in the path of discovery, and I'm so grateful for that and how beautiful it is to be in the path of discovery. I've been sober for about a year and 15 days, and I owe that to this community because I stopped drinking 2 years ago, but when I found your work, when I found this community, is really what prompted me to choose sobriety, to choose the freedom of being present. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. And so my question is, it's actually when I hear your thoughts and your comments, and I need to preface this by saying, so today is actually a year of my first sadhana practice. I started doing Kundalini a little over a year ago. And I know that it works. I know in my heart and in my body that it works. When I go back through my journals over the past year and a bit, I keep referring on how magic it is to change. However, that has not stopped my inner critic or my cynic for sitting next to me in the mat in the morning and, throwing questions like 60 degrees arms, really? What does the universe have to do with your arms at 60 degrees? A Jupiter finger, and this is a really big one. What does Jupiter have to do with your finger? And just kind of crossing her arms and just really being critical. And as I was pondering that question, I thought, maybe for religious beliefs, there are people also out there that have an issue with some of these practices. So I wanted to think what your thoughts are. What would you tell my cynic? What would you tell the religious person that thinks that this is not for them? What would you tell the men that walked into Guru Prem's office 20-something years ago, I think? Because you were sort of in that place too. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts and that I can take back and report back to my inner critic when she says that. So thank you for letting me ask the question.
Oh, Mariana, I love it. I love this question so much. I want to fill in some background information for people who may not understand aspects of or certain words that you used. So first of all, one of the things that we stress in Recovery 2.0, recovery from addiction, particularly any addiction, for any human being really, is to have a morning spiritual practice. And we call that sadhana. And that word is spelled Sadhana, sadhana. And the sadhana is a Sanskrit word, and it really means spiritual commitment, spiritual practice. And it's something that we stress doing every morning because we've collectively, over thousands and thousands of years of practice, human beings have determined that this is a very effective way of becoming a more powerful, centered, authentic version of ourselves and to have a better life. So we stress sadhana practice in the morning. So you're talking about when you get on your mat in the morning for your sadhana practice, and you do this thing called Kundalini. So what is that? So Kundalini is a very old word, and it's a form of yoga, one approach to yoga, which involves breath and movement and posture and something called Kriya. And essentially, a Kundalini is really about awakening to a greater state of awareness, greater state of health, greater connection, more effective way of being in the world. So this practice of Kundalini yoga that you're referring to has certain strange arm positions and hand positions and different things. So sometimes we hold our arms at 60 degrees and we do this thing we do a particular breath. And so your question about why do we do 60 degrees, or we refer to the different fingers as different planets. So the index finger might be referred to as the Jupiter finger, et cetera, et cetera. So the first thing that I want to say to your inner critic is, God, I'm with you. God, I so loud and clear hear, just how valid this questioning is, this doubt, this, what is this weird thing? What is this about? So I want to just honor the inner critic and the question and the skepticism, even for some folks, just the cynicism about the possibility of yoga, and in this case, Kundalini yoga and what it represents. I'm the first to say it's so unusual, and we're dealing with movements and postures that are not taught to us when we're children in the Western world. We're dealing with a language and different kinds of words that are not taught to us, that we're not brought up with in the Western world. We're dealing with new concepts and new philosophies that are not taught to us in the Western world. But for some reason, we've all been drawn to it. For some reason, you, through a lot of pain and a lot of suffering in addiction, found yourself in recovery, and then found yourself with us at Recovery 2.0, and found yourself attracted to these postures and these practices and these words and these philosophies. At least you found yourself attracted to it enough to practice, enough so that you could start to be doubting what's happening for you, and doubting and questioning the experience. Why do we do this? Now, there are specific reasons why we put the body into certain positions and breathe in those difficult positions. There are reasons for every single posture in all of yoga. Everything is specific and everything does have a reason. We will not be covering all those reasons on this podcast. What I can say is you're at this really interesting point, which is so valuable to recognize, where you're questioning the practice and you're questioning what it is you're doing. And I think that's very valuable. I think it's so important that when we don't understand it or we have a doubt about it, that we're given space to question and to learn. And I think that yoga, one of the reasons I love it so much, is it asks us to look at our direct experience. It's asking us to learn from our own experience. My job as a facilitator or as a yoga teacher, my job would be to help you unlock the magic and the mystery of your own direct experience. Not to tell you what to believe, not to even suggest that there's another way. I love that your inner critic has brought up these questions. Let's ask a few questions back of your inner critic and see what happens. So the first question I would ask is, have you been experiencing something positive in the body or mind by doing these practices, as weird as they may be? So I'm seeing you're nodding yes. And so I'm getting that you've had some positive experiences, which really is the problem here. In your direct experience, you've had something positive take place through these practices. Is that true? I don't want to put those words in your mouth.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's the intellectual control mind that kicks in, because there's undoubtedly, even when I was really in early sobriety, the moments that those practices really got me through the craving. So in my heart, I have no question of the strength and the power of these practices. I think it's that intellectual mind that has been there all along, questioning why are you doing this?
Gorgeous, gorgeous. So I so appreciate that you're sharing with me your experience, and what I'm hearing, and I take away from your experience, is that we're in the age-old battle between the heart and the head. As you said, in my heart, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's in my head where this challenge is, where the resistance is arising. Now, why would resistance arise with regards to something that you have done, which has brought such positivity and such positive effects in your life? Why would resistance, mental resistance, Ego resistance, why would that rise? Because you're changing, because you're growing. See, the ego doesn't like that. The ego likes the status quo. The ego likes no change. Let's keep things the way they are. Our understanding is our understanding. Let's be right here. That's fine. We don't need to grow. There's nowhere else to get to. Let's stay right here in this understanding that we currently have, attached to the thinking that we currently have, attached to the belief system that we currently have. Otherwise, you're going to have to step into the unknown. You're going to have to step into something that you've never stepped into before. You don't know what it is. And that's very frightening. When you truly become present, you're truly in the unknown. Because no longer are you in that addictive habit of recreating pleasure or avoiding pain. You're not trying to do that. You're just trying to show up and be present with all that is here. And having broken out of those old addictions of recreating pleasure and avoiding pain, now you're in the unknown. It's an uncomfortable place to be, but it's the place of extraordinary growth. It's the place of extraordinary growth. And the ego doesn't appreciate this. So what I can say to anybody listening or watching this, every one of us wants to grow and learn more and advance to our next level. Every one of us wants that. We all want to be at our next step. We want to be in the better version of ourselves. We want to be fulfilled human beings. At the same time that we want that, each one of us resists change. We resist our own growth. We put up walls and we fight. Yoga, and I would say that recovery and yoga, to me, are pretty much the same thing. Yoga means union, coming together, the place where everything connects. Addiction is disconnection. So recovery from addiction is the movement from disconnection into union or yoga. So on the path of yoga, we recognize that the practice that we engage in each day is the practice of facing our own resistance to that which we know is good for us. Part of yoga in action, part of recovery in action on a daily basis is to face the very thing that we resist, knowing that if we overcome that resistance, it will bring us to a great place. So I would like you to share that with the inner critic. And I would like you to say the next time it comes up, thank you for sharing. I understand that we are going to a scary place. It's called the unknown. We're learning and we're growing and we're moving forward along this path of discovery. If you commit to moving along a path of discovery, which is recovery, necessarily you're going to have to step into the unknown. And parts of us are going to resist it. We are not going to want to go there. Yoga is to face that resistance and to break through it. And it happens sort of bit by piece, bit by bit. It happens little by little. It's not like you break through resistance and you never experience resistance again. No, you come to the next level. You come to the next place and more resistance, different kinds of things will come up. And then you break through that. But the commitment is to face whatever arises, like you are right now by asking this question. It's such an important and critically important question. Because everyone who has ever tried to quit anything that wasn't good for them, anybody who ever tried to pursue a spiritual path of whatever kind, anybody who ever tried to pursue a religious path of whatever kind, is going to come up against the very thing that you're talking about. New ideas are being presented. And the old part of you is going to rise up in revolt. No, I won't go there. What's wrong with here? Why do we have to grow? Why do we have to do this? We have to do it because your heart and your soul are asking for it. Because the human being is meant to excel. We're not meant to stagnate. We don't do well with that. We have to learn, we have to grow. And that's why Recovery 2.0, by the way, because it is the never-ending path of discovery. It doesn't end. There's no ending step. It's forever and ever in this lifetime, and then perhaps the next, and the next, and the next. A never ending, unfolding chain of energy, which is your life, your decisions, your efforts, your actions in the world. And so I say, get on your mat, keep getting there every day, overcome your resistance. If there's aspects of the specific practice that you don't understand and you want to understand better, we can talk about that. And you can find me very easily at Recovery 2.0. We can talk about the specifics and the angles and, is it important that we refer to the fingers as a planet? Of course not. Is it important that you dress a certain way for your approach? Of course not. Is it important that you show up on your mat and face yourself? Absolutely. And there is a practice and a way that we follow that, although it really is open, in my opinion, open for a lot of interpretation and a lot of different approaches. Our approach is just one approach. There are so many. And by the way, our approach includes everybody else's approach. We're sort of inclusive that way. On the path of Kundalini yoga, we like that. And we also like hatha yoga, vinyasa yoga. We also like yoga, all yoga. So yoga being that movement from the darkness into the light, to, disconnection into union. So these are some of my thoughts about this inquiry. I want to tell you that I've been there myself. I've fought tooth and nail. I fought yoga and I have fought recovery. And my ego lost that battle. Absolutely, decidedly KO, knocked out. And my spirit triumphed through that and was able to build a deeper relationship and a more profound experience of life. Tell me what comes up for you as you hear me reflect on these things.
Well, thank you so much, Tommy. I feel like I was in the right path on my conversations with my inner critic and my cynic. And as you were sharing vinyasa and hatha, and my inner critic doesn't pop up in those things because they are physical and hard enough that she can justify the existence of that. But I think that when it's very specific about Kundalini, it's because I also have a great curiosity and a great interest on learning about that. And I think that's why that's a whole different state for me to move into. And you reminded me that we resist that evolution in the beginning. So I'm really grateful for the answer and for the support. And thank you. Thank you.